She could have settled in Canada with the rest of her family, but she felt a desire to return to Sarawak, Malaysia. Today's episode is about Fiona Marcus Raja, who started 5 businesses in 5 years. Based in Sarawak, Malaysia, she has multiple businesses from construction to event management. Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Gun. I'm also an entrepreneur, author, marketeer, storyteller, and connector. As the host of Womenpreneur Asia, I talk to Asian women entrepreneurs to uncover their personal stories of grit, hope, and transformation. These are real stories of courage and optimism from inspiring yet down-to-earth women in business across Asia. This episode is brought to you by my company, Redbox Studio. Today I'm speaking to Fiona Marcus Raja of Sarawak, Malaysia. She's the Managing Director of Borneo International Exhibition Sendirian Berhad, an events management business that organizes large-scale events in Borneo and beyond. Her entrepreneurial journey started early in life. She started by helping her father sell cars, while at the same time sold insurance after graduating from college. She went on to start her own beauty salon and nail parlor, open an events management company, create the first river cruise in Sarawak, run a wedding planning business, manage a construction business, manage a waste management equipment supply business, and still finds time to volunteer for various tourism-related boards to promote Sarawakian arts and culture. She also founded a Borneo initiative named Tenun, in which she led a team to Germany in 2019 to showcase Sarawak crafts and products. And not least of all, she is a certified chef who graduated from Le Culinaire Canada. Fiona has had an intriguing entrepreneurial journey. And on top of this, she's a mother who has had to stay strong when her son was battling cancer. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, Fiona.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So Fiona, where are you today physically?
I am currently in Bintulu, Sarawak. So it's an oil and gas town in Sarawak.
And for business?
Yes, I'm here for work. So the government just relaxed the travel SOPs. So I'm here for work.
Okay. So I want to ask you this question, but it's not really a question. It's a quote that you wrote about, which is, you only live once. Tell me about this and why it's a quote you live by.
I guess as I've gone through quite a bit growing up, not growing up as an adult. As I was younger, things were really, my parents made it really easy for us. We were traveling a lot, but we never really stayed much in one venue. So when we settled down in Kuching, was when I got married, had a child at the age of 21. My late father passed away when I was 19. I started working at the age of 23. I had my eldest son when I was 21, so I had to do double jobs because we was just starting my career. I had a full-time job, which I couldn't keep for more than a month because my son was in and out of the hospital. So I thought it was only right for me to get out of the working life for a while and focus on him. And then I started getting into the beauty industry and followed in with events and tourism. But when I thought that this is it, I'm already set. I had second son when I was 28. A few years later, I decided that it's time for me to have another child. So when I had my second child, we decided to have the third one immediately because I didn't want to go through that whole sleepless nights. And my second son was diagnosed with cancer when he was an age of a year and a half, not long after his first birthday, sorry. And and then I gave up my career, sold all my business, started becoming a full-time housewife. And I came back and he went through treatment for 2 years. So I was a full-time mother for 2 years-ish, taking care of my 3 sons. And I came back to Kuching in 2016. Not sure where I was going to start again. Got back into work didn't remember how to turn on the laptop, can't really remember how to use the PowerPoint, didn't remember how I used to handle my Excel. Yeah, so when I came back, I just realized that life just became, I mean, after all these episodes in my life, from um, being married young, losing my father at a young age, starting work early, failing in business, succeeding in business, and then needing to sell and quit my business, needing to relearn everything again, and to refit in. I think that you just realize that you really only live once. If you really want to do something, you should just go all out, because things like this happen without plan. I didn't plan for my dad to pass away, to die. I didn't plan for my son to get cancer. I sure didn't plan to sell any of my business and give up my job. But I guess it was a big wake up call for me to really do what I wanted to do when I came back. I thought when I came back in 2016, I was very lost. Had a lot of friends who supported. But I think the most important thing was my mind was set that I wanted to do something for me, and I wanted to do something that I was happy with. So even if anything happens tomorrow, I won't regret it. So yeah, so here I am in Bintulu working.
So now we're fast forwarded to 2021.
Yeah,
right?
2021. Yes.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the business side of things.
Yeah.
What is your business and what do you do?
I'm an entrepreneur. I run tourism related business. I do events. I do project management. I have a marketing team. I have a construction team, and we own a bar. So I have a bartender. We have a brand called Tenun, which we started a few years ago, to work with artists and social enterprises. And then I will call myself an entrepreneur. I enjoy business. We invest in business. We invest in we don't invest in business. We invest in talent and people. So I am a entrepreneur in short.
Do you enjoy the role? I mean, you seem to have so many businesses. And even when you were just talking in the beginning, you said that you had all these other businesses that you sold, gave up, and then you came back again to entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It was, I think for me, business is it's a hobby, because it's not so much of the business that I invested in, it was the people I invested in. I was always very curious about how things were done and how I would like to get involved in. I would like to learn. I think what I had was a lot of curiosity, which made me always want to learn. I did my diploma in culinary arts in 2015, and I'm not a chef, but I'm a good kitchen assistant. But at least it gives me the foundation of what I'm getting myself into. Now we've started an F&B business, not 100% F&B, but we're a restaurant / cocktail bar. I work with chefs and I work with mixologists and bartenders. But it helps me play in the playground where I enjoy not actually doing it, but managing it as a business and working with them. I get to brainstorm with them. I get to have a lot of brain sparring sessions on ideas and what we can do and what we should try and what are the other opportunities out there. Yeah. So yeah, I think I really enjoy it.
So if you didn't start your businesses, what do you think you'd be doing?
I don't know. That was the biggest fear I had before I came back. So I remember 2015, end of the year, October was when my son was announced in remission. The first thing happened to me was the reality just sank in that I have to go back to life where I didn't know what it was anymore, because I gave up everything. Giving up everything you started for the only thing you know for the last 10 years, and coming back into something that you're not sure is quite scary. Because in the last 2 years, it was no way back of my head that I was going back to what I was going back to. So in between, I had some days that I feel emotional about what I was going to do after this, but don't really have time with kids. Three kids full time running around, one sick child wasn't the ideal situation to worry about what you have to do. But on October, when the doctor announced that he was in remission, it was the day everything just sank in about my career. So the doctor announced that we could go back to Kuching. But I think it was more of what am I going back into? I'm not really sure. Like I've given up my business. I've given up all my contacts. I've not been in touch with anyone. My clients are no longer my clients. So I used to open a nail parlor, a beauty parlor. I used to do nails, and I sold my business. And it was so hard to detach from a business. But whether I really wanted to go back into it, was another emotional roller coaster. To start over, do I really want? Because I think it's a second chance in life. Sometimes when you invest in business, you feel that you already put both legs in. You're not sure whether you should step out. But when you get out of all that, then you start to, what's that word called? You start to really analyze the business you have and observe, and you ask yourself, do I really want to go through the long hours, the drama between, managing so many girls in a nail parlor for 8 years? Not too sure. But it was fun while it lasted. But I think it's the phase in life where I realized that I wasn't young anymore. My eyes couldn't do nails anymore, for sure.
So you have to have good eyesight to do nails, right?
Yeah, you have to have good eyesight, and you need a lot of concentration, which you lose over the years. I just realized. You don't realize when you're younger that these kind of things happen. So,
that is true. I learned so many things from all the people on my podcast, and one of those things that I learned is like today. I never knew eyesight was a major factor in running a beauty parlor, a nail, right?
It is. You need a lot of concentration. Yeah, you need a lot of concentration. You need a lot of mental concentration, especially because being in the beauty industry, a lot of my businesses are in the service industry, and it's very personal. So you need a lot of time to talk to the client. You need time a lot. Being a manicurist means you have to be able to listen very well. We're like therapists for a lady. So men and women come over to us and get their nails done. They talk about the day, how great the day was or how bad the day was. And whether or not the clients will come back will depend whether you're a good listener and how good you are at keeping your mouth shut about stories.
Not so much about, partly it's the nails, but the other part is also the therapy that they come for.
It was therapy. I believe that my business, I was never the best manicurist in town. I always remind my girls, we were not the best manicure. We were not the best nail parlor. But I believe that our customer service was the key, because clients came back. For us, it wasn't because of the nail polish or color or the brand we had. It was really about they wanted to come because customers start becoming friends, and a lot of our customers became my business partners today. Yeah, so we built a friendship. We developed a friendship over the years, and yeah, I'm proud to say quite a few of them have become our acquaintance / partners in whatever we're doing today.
Yeah. And then when you were thinking of that, when you were thinking of coming back to Kuching and starting again, where do you come back from, first of all, for the context of our listeners?
Oh yes, we were in Singapore for 9 months. So Royce, my second son, was diagnosed with neuroblastoma when he was 1 year and 2 years. Sorry, it was his 2 year birthday. 2 years, 4 months. Yeah, and his prognosis wasn't very good. So we went to Singapore, and we found great doctors that were willing to take the gamble and fought through chemo and transplant, radiation. All of it was done the major part was done in Singapore. And then we were applying for immunotherapy clinical trial in Canada. My family lives in Canada, in Toronto. So we were lucky and fortunate enough that we got sponsors for my family to come over. And we were accepted to the Sick Kids Toronto for immunotherapy. So we left in 2004. Beginning of 2015 to Toronto, and we were there for a year. Unfortunately, we went. Everything that could go wrong went wrong with Royce. So all side effects that's supposed to come later in life came early. Yeah, and anything that doctors suspect could go wrong all happened. So all the chances, every time they said there was a risk, that risk always happened. So that was Royce. And then I came back first in end of the year 2015. The kids stayed back. I was settling. I was supposed to sell off the company, officiate the sales to finalize all after due diligence and all that. So when I came back, I was supposed to be in Kuching for 3 months. In that 3 months, I was offered a job to help with a partner's a friend's company to do project management. So yeah, so after I finished that project, and he offered me a full-time job and a share in a company. So I came back. So I went to Canada, pick up the kids, and came back to Kuching. But that was really the hardest 3 months of my life, because when I came back, it was weird. It was like I never got into business before, because I really cannot recall doing any of this. Everything I opened, all my laptops, my computer, my files, my hard drive, I couldn't recall any of those PowerPoints or slides. They were done by me. I couldn't read the Excels. I couldn't digest how I wrote it. So everything took a toll on me when I realized that I actually missed out a lot of time in the last 2 years. So I think that was a part where a part of me was talking to a friend, telling her that you don't realize how women sacrifice after being a mother. They become housewife for a while and they're coming back to work. It's really quite challenging, because you really get out of the whole scenario from a high-flying working career to suddenly no communication with the outside world. The only thing I knew was diet, food, doctors, and the kids. So I don't really know what was going on in the world. I don't really know what's going on in the events industry. When you look into industry segments, none of it I was familiar with, because I really got myself out of it. I would hear from friends over drinks and coffee or online chatting, but it was really very different from being a full-time working mom. So yeah, it was
And it wasn't real, right? Because you were in your mother's role, and what happened outside was just like, things that were passing around you, but you weren't involved.
Yeah. It was just something like you would just listen to a friend talk over coffee, but it's just nothing that you can relate to. I mean, it's not anything that is important enough for you to be curious about, ask more. It's just like, oh, really? Or this is what's going on now, that now this is the state direction, or this is what the trend is, or a lot of people are evolving into this kind of business. So it was really, 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 really hard. So I was telling a few friends of mine when they started their career, I was telling them it's not easy for me even for me being in business for the last 10 years, to restart was a complete new thing. It was nothing that I was familiar with, because that 2 years was like eternity already. It really felt like I just came out of college. Okay, what do I do? Where do I start? And I got into construction. It was not something that I was familiar with. So
So that was that role, right, that you came into when you went to Kuching.
Yeah. But I was lucky. I've always been quite lucky to find good mentors. I had to put in the hours of learning and listening and asking and, trying to figure out. But I think after a year, I got the hang of it. Yeah. And so I got the hang of it, and recruiting staff was so hard, because everyone that you had around you took years to accumulate, this friendship and your colleagues and your accountants. The important key people in your company is all gone. And then to restart that.
How do you do that part?
I actually managed to get a few of my ex-staff to come back. Yeah, so a few of them took time to come back, because I sold the business together with the team, and I was not allowed to hire them for the first 3 years. But it was miserable, because I think there was a big fire hire situation going on in my company. Like hire, because there was a benchmark of expectation. I left with this benchmark, because I always had reliable people. I remember when I had my second son, I was so relaxed that I could have another child or two. That was how easy my life was with my team that I had. Suddenly starting from ground zero, it was complete nightmare. I had to fix the accounts, I had to fix the administrative work, I had to figure out HR, so I was like running a company with your own bare hands, like everything you had to figure out yourself, because you don't have a team. And now we've been back for 5 years. Coming to 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. Close to 5 years. I would say I got my team, a few of my good teams back, member back, but still a lot of fire hire going around. The new generation of kids are not as hardy as I won't call myself an old generation, but I think we grew up very closely with our parents' generation. A lot of hard work, a lot of getting your hands dirty, putting in long hours. But yeah, slowly but surely, I think I have quite a solid team, I would say. So that allows me to travel here to work, because now I think COVID is a curse and a blessing at the same time, because everyone's forced to learn technology.
Yeah.
Previously, everyone don't know how to use this, cannot work from home, cannot use Zoom.
It has super speeded all our learning.
Yes. Everyone was forced to learn, down to our older staff in the company had to learn how to figure out. Last time, even printing cannot do. Now everything must do.
Which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
It is.
If we can learn and keep on adapting, I think that is the best thing we can do for
Yeah,
ourselves.
definitely. What I think is the what I went through has made me very extremely adaptable, agile to all this. So losing my dad at a young age, I had to grow up overnight. I couldn't be the little brat that I was. Every
Are you the
girl.
youngest?
No, I'm the second.
How many siblings do you have?
With four of us, I've got another elder sister before me, and then I've got two younger brothers, and they're overseas. Yeah, my youngest brother is here in Kuching with me, working here, but my other two siblings are in Canada. Yeah, and all of us had to grow up overnight, because it was I think it was life changing when you lose parents at a younger age. Yeah. Either you lose them when you're very young, so you never get to know, but when you're at an age where you understand, and you have, especially teenagers, I think it hits us a lot harder, because it was the most rebellious stage of your life, and instantly thinking that everything just, you have so much hormones and all these emotions start coming in, and yeah, so I think that that was one. And then having my son diagnosed with cancer when I was young as well, I was still young back then. But it's changed me. I think my son is the reason why I became what I am as well. Going through treatment with him made me decide a lot of things. Like I said, remember my beauty parlor? It was always a dreadful. It was like a love-hate relationship. I want to keep the business because I love it so much to have fun in it, but I hate being the one doing it because I have to long hours, And then when your staff leave or they're on leave, you have to be there personally, because it's like a 100% service industry. Your hands need to be there. You cannot replace. It's a skill. But when he was diagnosed, I had to make calls, like immediate decisions, whether or not to put him on chemo, whether or not he had to go to see a doctor, whether or not to find to decide whether he had to go through surgery. It was then, I think it was then in life that I started learning to make decisions without being too scared.
Were you scared before that to make decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I was a self-taught business person. I've never finished college. I would call myself a self-taught entrepreneur. Failed many times as well. You have that fear behind you when you fail, but it stays with you. Even as much as you think that I'm gonna get through this. I'm not gonna go through this again. I'm gonna be smarter and wiser. But when you reach a point of decision making, then you start questioning yourself with doubts. Am I going to fail this time again? Or is this going to be the right decision? How would I know whether it's right or wrong? And I usually run back then. I do the silliest things to run or avoid confrontation, avoid getting into trouble. The easy way, I was just avoid 100% or not talk about it. I was never vocal enough to discuss things. So I used to keep very quiet and pretend that everything is fine. I think until really when Royce was diagnosed, it was really that life-changing moment where I had to make calls. I had to call the shot. Then I had to live with the decision. So it was a lot of talking to myself the whole time, like, am I doing the right thing, the wrong thing? Then you realize just wasting time. Because it's never going to be an answer. It's going to be the same conversation over and over again. So I just stopped. I basically told myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Calculated risk, I'll call it. As long as I've already done all, because I was extremely careful with him. I started going through different doctors, going through medication, reading through articles, getting advice from friends. So I do the same thing now with my businesses. So I think I applied that concept, which I never learned when I started business, because I never really knew whether, there's always a taboo about people telling you shouldn't discuss about your business, it's P&C, shouldn't tell people so much about your trade. But I've become so open about my business that it becomes extremely uncomfortable sometimes for my partners or my friends. But I told them that I think that I really sincerely believe that the more I share, the more I learn, because I start reflecting my decisions and I start asking myself when I'm discussing it. And we end up brainstorming about ideas. And you come up with more ideas when you discuss it. So
For sure. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. And also someone may come along and say, hey, I share the same sentiment.
Yeah.
I also have the same problem, right? And the courage to talk about it makes the fear less scary.
Yeah, it does.
Like you feel that there's this unspoken thing, but once you talk about it, it's out in the open, it becomes less scary. And you can move on with that decision that you want to make, or try something or do something. And I think that is also something which I try to do in my podcast, is to get all my friends and guests to talk about things which are uncomfortable. And it's not comfortable to talk about uncomfortable things, because it really gives you time to think about things that you did in your past. But I've learned that by talking about it, we get to share in that same emotion. And because of that, we are able to move forward. And whether it is together or you move forward in your own way, I move forward in my own way, we're still moving forward. At least we've taken one tiny baby step ahead rather than stuck in that situation where we have no answer and we don't know what to do, where we have no decisions to make at all. Right? So to me, I think that's also part of the beauty of sharing. And I think you're right. When you talk about things, it really makes it much better for everyone. It may be uncomfortable, but it is actually better for all of us.
Yeah.
So then when you did that, when you started talking, what about the people around you? They became more open, responsive?
I think we get mixed outcome from different people. It varies. But I think eventually people do change. Eventually people do they do understand that it allows clarity when you speak up about things. I always encourage my team to allow yourself to be emotional, to allow yourself to be angry, upset, because that whether you call it closure or whether you call it you comfort yourself at the same time, because it allows you to have clarity. Once you say it out loud, then you hear yourself rather than talking to yourself here. So I always tell them, if you talk to yourself here, you may not hear what you are saying clearly unless you say it out loud. And talking to yourself in the mirror it's not a very fun thing to do. You eventually, Chinese say, 北笑 also become 笑 one day. So I was thinking, so you go crazy. You're not crazy, you go crazy one day. But so that's how I started getting myself a lot more involved with talks and boot camps and dialogues. I feel that sharing allows me to express, and it allows me to feel, to reach. I really feel that I reach out to a lot more people, to have that courage to fail, to face perhaps failure, but at least they're trying. A lot of people don't even dare to try. So I was telling them, you don't try, you fail. You fail immediately anyways. But as an entrepreneur, your job, or businessman, your job is to try. If you don't try, that's why I said, if you don't try, you just sit down there, it's 100% failure. If you try, you fail, at least you tried. That at least you are certain that you tried. You don't want to live with regrets. That's why I say you only live once, right? You imagine waking up every day like, what could have, would have. Like now with the cryptocurrencies, like a biggest trend. Everyone's like, wow, should have bought long time ago, would have done this, could have done that. Yeah, I say, if you would have, I could have.
True. So let's talk a little bit about your business too. I'm very interested, because you say you started 5 businesses in 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you please let us know, are those business related, or are they somewhat related?
They are all somewhat related. So I get into business because of interest. I get very curious about a certain topic or a certain product or a certain idea about things. And then it's passion. I always believe passion will allow you, will push you to learn more and strive and make sure that it doesn't fail. So I started off doing coming back when I came back for construction, I left the company after. I had a year and a half working around Sarawak in rural areas, managing projects. And then I decided to revive my company. I had an events company back then. And that wasn't sold. It was on a hibernating mode. And because in construction is project management, right? You realize that in events is also project management. You're both building something and creating something. But the difference about events and construction is time. In construction, you have so much freedom of time to delay or say tomorrow because you have so much time. In events, if the show's tomorrow, the show must go on. There's no such thing as it's raining, I can't do it, or the TV is not working, speaker's not working. By hook, by crook, you steal, you rob, you will make sure the event happens. And that was when I was in construction, I realized that actually I could do this really well because of my events background. Because everything was always now, and there was always problem solving. And that was also why I could manage my son in the hospital really well. I was so used to crisis management. It was a very calm thing to manage. But to make decisions was very different though, because it was not my life, it was his life that was hard. So that the difference of back then, the me then and the me after, I had more clarity on how I made decisions rather than an instinct thing. Previously, a lot of decisions were made out of my feel. Do they feel good? Feeling, I think should be okay, And you think that there's calculated risk, but actually it's not. Because you don't really do all your due diligence, you've not done all your background check and all that. Whether you can do it without this person is one. Whether I had the passion of doing it is one thing. But if I had a passion of doing it and I had to manage all these 5 businesses on my own, I think I'll die tomorrow. But it was really identifying how I could run this business with me being limited, with my limited time there. It was management. So I would say any business that you throw to us, like to me, I don't think it's a challenge because it was all part and parcel of management. It's just, do I have the right person with the skill set to run this business? Do I have the knowledge to run this business? For me, most important is, do I have the passion to run this business even if it gives me nightmare every day? So I run an events company, and then I started a digital marketing agency and partner with a partner from KL called Orion Social Media. My events company is called Borneo International Enterprise. And then we started we got really interested in social media. So we had a friend that came to Sarawak and said, I have a friend in KL actually looking to expand his business. So we flew down to KL, met him. Immediately we clicked and started a company. We didn't know each other at all. But we went down to KL very often, so I wanted to learn. So I was very curious. This was in 2017 when digital marketing was still not a very big thing yet. So we started an agency in Sarawak and started handling projects within Sarawak and outside Sarawak. And then we started investing in waste management machineries. We got really interested in green tech and farming, agriculture. I don't have
Was it a
green
passion? Was it a passion of yours?
It was an opportunity, more like it, because we saw that there was a big opportunity in agriculture. Is the future. Agriculture is the future. Digital marketing is the future. So we got into that business, and we are supplying machines to most of the councils in Sarawak. So a lot of our job is to do training, educate the market people, how to use the machines, how to self-sustain. So that was all from my events background. So to make sure that it wasn't a white elephant and the project will continue at continuance. And then we started off doing system. Yeah. And then we invested in a bar. So the bar was because of Tuak. So we started a project called Tenun in 2018. So Tenun means to weave and to connect people. A lot of times we see that a lot of products it doesn't sell not because it's not a good product, but it lacks marketing. It lacks a story. So that's where we found value in what we did, and we incorporated everything together. So we built the booth, we did the exhibition in Germany, We did all the packaging, we did the design, we did the marketing online, and it was really, we had a very positive outcome, greatly accepted. And when it was from Penang Woman Project, she sold all her baskets, and it was really great. I mean, it was a validation trip, more to see whether there was a market out there for Sarawakian goods. And when we went there, our booth was full every day. So I take that as a great success to be in the first time in the exhibition. And we were invited to go to Japan, talk about Toa. We were invited to exhibit in Singapore during the wine and spirits event exhibition. And then COVID happened, so everything went on hold. But when COVID hit, we arrived back in Kuching in February last year. Yeah. And the lockdown was in March. So during that period, we were focusing a lot on planning for what happens after COVID. So we look into branding, look into packaging, look into how would we grow this brand, what can we do next. And then we partnered with another chef who came back from Singapore. So we opened up a restaurant, and they run the kitchen, we run the bar, and we work together as a team. But it's a playground, because I started getting very curious about whiskeys and gins, and you don't just drink them now, so you get to learn stories about them, so you're guilt-free.
And it's a great way for you to also market your tour at the bar.
Yes, it was a platform. So think of it as a flagship store. Yeah, so people will know where to get it. So at least if anyone wanted to know more, that we can just bring them to the bar, and then our bartender will explain. But yeah, so I would say all our businesses are interrelated, because our company, our digital marketing agency now helps manage, because with our skill, we can manage all the other brands around it. With our events background, we can do exhibition and events. We do a lot of cocktail masterclass and mixology and whiskey class now at the bar. We survive a lot more on classes than a walk-in bar. We do hampers, we do gifts, we partner with our talents from Tenun. Yeah.
So that's why everything is related, even though there are 5 distinct businesses, all in all.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you personally, what's the satisfaction? I know all these things is related to each other. What's the overall satisfaction? What does it feel like for you? Will you be running another 5 more businesses?
I believe so. I'm actually talking to another friend now about starting another company. But it's like one company a year. But every company I have an exit plan. So each company we get our team to start working on running the company, managing the company. So eventually I want to retire from the company and just remain as an advisor. I've already resigned from both 2 companies actually. So I run the company now more as a CEO rather than a director. I come for meetings, and then that's about it. They make the call, they run it on a day-to-day basis. They handle the clients. But I think that my plan, maybe it's character as well, because I get bored very fast. So events is like the best industry to be in, because it's always changing. But it's because it's always something you can get curious about. There's always a new challenge. And now without events, it's not challenging enough. So you start thinking about what other business can I do next. Yeah, get yourself more busy. So, but it's fun. I think that the people you're with makes it fun. So I get to see friends with less guilt than yum cha.
You get to drink. And get to drink too.
Yes, I get to drink.
Yeah. It's always a plus point when you're doing something that you like, or you have something that you can try or eat or sample. And I think that's why a lot of people like F&B businesses too. Because it's so easy to bring someone, hey, come on over to my restaurant or cafe or shop.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, I was talking to my team the other day, reminding them, if your job becomes a job, then you're just going to drag your feet to work every day. But if your job becomes a hobby and you think about it, how you handle it like a challenge or something, you need to really, like what you said, what's the satisfaction? You really need to know what makes you happy. Is it the end result? Is it the thank you from the client? I get a lot of satisfaction when the clients say that they are extremely happy with, because for events, people like us, it's always a nightmare. You only need that one handshake and that one hug and that one thank you note. Oh, straight away I say it's worth it. All the hell was worth it.
All the late nights.
Yeah. The late nights, the indecisiveness, the changes, the hiccups here and there. But I think at the end of the day is that feeling of satisfaction at the end, accomplishment, because you get to see the finish line. A lot of times, some companies, I believe, it becomes a chore because there's no finish line. There's no end of the project. It's a daily repetitive work. So my beauty parlor back then, it was fun. It was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed being around with customers and all that. But I think after 8 years, you just realize there's no finish line. There's no one KPI every other day. You said, I've done this. Like, yes, you tap on your shoulder, continue, do again. It's always repeat. It's like no ending repeat. And when the problems come, you don't feel that satisfaction of saying that I finished this task and it's done already. I've gone to, for us when we did the fashion show over. So the nightmare leading to the fashion show, at least there was a full stop to that. And there was the end result that we could sit down and say, okay, we've done this, anything we could have done better. But overall, we're satisfied, we're happy. And the brownie point is what happens next. Then we can plan for the next step because it's something different again. Doing business for me, it works for some, but for me, it doesn't work being on a repetitive manner. Every day I'm doing the same thing in and out. I think that can be quite demoralizing. Marketing campaigns are very fun because you get to see what other people are doing and you get to benchmark yourself. Yeah. So I think it's the competitive part that you need to have a bit of kiasuhness in some manner. A healthy competition.
I also feel that as you were talking, it's the project part. It's like we start a project and there's a definite end to it. It's not like the whole thing keeps going on and on and on and there's no end in sight. I think that's the intriguing part about what you're doing. Right? Like an event A may finish, then tomorrow there's event B, which is something else to look forward to. So I think those are the things that keep you constantly excited about your business in the events management industry.
Right. It's either you hate it, you love it, or hate it. We always tell our staff when they come in for interview, if you live here more than 6 months, you're in it for a long time. If you're in for 3 to 6 months, if you cannot pass 6 months, I don't think this is the industry for you already. You'll never come back. So you only have two type of people who really love it or really hate it. So the one that hate it will end up doing a 9 to 5 job. Because really events is no day, no night, what it's called. And problems will come every day. You have too many external factors that can, as perfect as your plan is, there's too many external factors to take care of. Your contractors, your venue, the weather, even the weather can kill you. So, yeah.
What's your most memorable event so far?
My most memorable event? China. Yeah, having to build a booth from scratch in Nanning, China for Bimiaga, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN Growth Area. So we were appointed as a contractor to design and build the booth. So we designed the whole booth. We read through that 500-page of, we call it Holy Grail of what Bimiaga was, extracted the data, figuring out which one was the key message to exhibitors, to come to understand a little bit more about Bimiaga. We are coordinating between 4 countries. And then after that, in a foreign country that we've never been in Nanning especially. I don't know whether you know about Nanning. I never heard about Nanning until we had the project. So when we went to Nanning, we had to coordinate with a local contractor. We didn't realize how much it would cost. And language was a big barrier because they speak very different like Chinese and the Mandarin I know. And it was, I think that was the first, well, that was me coming back from overseas, number one, starting all over in events. And it was not in Malaysia. It was in another country. It was the first time we had an event outside of Malaysia itself. But after having that event, on that event, we were coordinating all the entourage that came, all the other officials that came for the function. We were arranging the hotels. We were coordinating between the ground arrangement, the meetings and all that. It was fun. It was like a whole micromanagement going around, like managing human and making sure that everything will happen, falls into place. But being able to control something in a foreign country, in a country where you don't really speak the language was really, really interesting. It was fun. It was really fun. And the travels, and also the travel is a bonus because you get to see the country in a different perspective. I'm not a big fan of tours, so this was it was business trips. I think it's something that I really enjoy because you really get to go experience the local business scene. So again, it was an eye opener. So I'm not working in Sarawak. I'm working in China. So I would experience an events company life in China itself. And I get to bring my knowledge back, and it becomes a bragging right. And you get to talk about it, and you get to share the experience. And I believe it also encouraged a lot of local event companies to think bigger about going out there instead of just doing things here locally. And that was I think that breaking moment that made us go out more. So we started going to Philippines, we started going out to Germany, we started going to Vietnam. But that particular event changed. It was like a game changer. Because when we came back, we survived. Like hands are there, legs are there, we're fine.
You're still on peace.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was one of my most memorable events. But yes, we had a lot of crazy events. But I would say that was extremely mind-changing. It was a game changer because it really changed the way we see things as an events company. And it made us realize that I used to own assets for events. I used to do weddings. I used to drive lorry myself and buses.
Do you drive a lorry? Wow.
Yeah, I drove a lorry when I was pregnant. So I was setting up events, climbing upstairs when I was pregnant, doing all this. And that event itself, after that particular event, I just decided that I don't even need any asset. I just need contractors. I just need to learn. I just need to know how to manage contractors like me. So instead of me doing it, I get to go down and instruct them what I want, exactly how I want it to be. And it made it a lot more pleasant on managing events. Because usually you're like hands here, hands there, running around with walkie-talkie, screaming, finding stuff. So it made it possible to have more events in a year. And I gave away all my assets. So now we're just a pure project management events company.
When you talk about assets, what does that mean to non-event management people like me? What does assets mean?
So as event company, when we started, probably we were a bit greedy. So we started buying buses of our own. We don't rent buses. We don't loan anything. We buy everything. We build trucks. Those stands that you do for decoration. You buy cloth, like rolls and rolls, tons and tons of cloth that you can always find a nightmare to clean up. Every time we need to do an audit, it was like a nightmare of storeroom with like 20 small buses, and then Chinese New Year decoration, Christmas decorations. Yeah, so I gave everything away to all the other event companies that wanted it in town. And I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. So I just contracted with, so I'm an event company that contracts event companies. Makes sense?
Yes.
But my skill was managing clients. So I could understand I could go deep down and understand I could focus on the client to really understand what they wanted. I think it was from my beauty life back then of talking to clients and always getting information from them. Yeah, so my social skill was a lot better from 8 years of doing nails.
That's the foundation to your business.
Yeah. Because events is really about communicating. It's like a doctor. The doctor doesn't know what's wrong with you unless you are able to explain what your condition is. And usually a good doctor is able to extract information from you. Asking you the right question to get the right answer. And a lot of times I realized that it's not that we have bad event companies here. It's just that when our team handles clients, they don't ask the right question. So they end up assuming a lot of things. That's where all these hiccups come about. And also expectation like blue. Your blue in your head now and my blue may be very different. So when we agree on, okay, we're going to do blue, we need to clarify what kind of blue you're talking about. Is it a baby blue? Is it you're looking at the turquoise? Then you go far out or far left in, and yeah. So
or even talking about not even a blue. What is blue to you may not be a blue to that person.
Correct. So that's when we decided that it was that there and then. And when we went to Nanning, we could study what the clients wanted, because they figure out how they wanted the booth to be. We designed the booth for them. We designed the artwork, the content, and started reading. And so if I were to study hard when I was younger, I'd probably be a professor by now with the amount of things I had to learn running events. Because when you do
Professor
medical
event.
conferences, because when you do medical conferences, you need to read about what urology is, the history of it. Then you can propose content or even a concept of how the decoration should be. You need to do the history background check on how they've done the events and the culture is to convince the committee to do things otherwise. So it's not as straightforward as I'm here, I'm doing events, I get a paper out. So I was telling them it's a professional job where we need to really go through a lot of due diligence and audits and a lot of reading. Yeah, but it's fun.
And you get an MBA at the end of every event because you kind of have to understand what goes through it, right?
I actually asked myself many times, I should get an MBA.
You're getting a real life one every day in your business.
Yes. So that's when I decided, I'm not going back to school. All this reading and doing this MCO of studying so much that it's because government was offering a lot of incentive for education online, right? There was a lot of online classes and free programs and courses and certificates. I've now 15 certs collected over the last 1 year. It was fun in the beginning. It's not that fun anymore.
Okay, so how did you come to that realization that you were better off managing rather than being really hands-on in the business?
I realized that my skill. So before 30, you're supposed to try everything and figure out. But after 30, it's when you sit down and ask yourself, okay, now I've already tried everything. I think everything that I need to try. Now I have to figure out what do I really want and then what do I not want. So I always tell people that I actually don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. So I start eliminating what I don't like first. And I definitely don't like to handle the politics on ground. I don't like to handle, like I said, hands-on doing stuff. I can do it today, but I know that, like what I said when I was doing my manicure business back then, the beauty parlor, I don't think I can repetitively do a certain task. So that's when I realized, okay, I'm not going to be specialized in any of this field. I'm better off being jack of all trade than master of one, because handling it, I've got no follow through. My motivation level goes like this, and it just goes like this. There's like a high peak, it's like super high and then super low. So I think that management for me works well because I would say I'm really good at coordinating, listening. Because it's really a lot of listening. Like, what do you need? What do you need? So I become the middleman. So this person, I understand, can do every one of these from A to Z. And my clients would need certain aspect, and I know exactly who can handle it. And I know that my client will not be able to handle this kind of contractors, so I never let them meet. Or I know that my contractors will hate this type of client, so I will never let them meet as well. Or they will dread handling this kind of people. So usually they say, okay, as long as you're doing it, I'm fine. So I'm the middle person to manage. So when we do events, we manage either a whole board committee, which you need to convince, which makes it a lot harder to run. So events don't really fail. Events usually fail because there's a lot of people making too many chefs. One person say one thing, one person gets angry at one thing, one person dislikes this, one person dislikes that. So it's about how you manage all these little humans in that equation, and you make sure that everyone has the same outcome that they expect. However it's done is how we convince them on how we're going to do it, execute it. But we have to all agree in that room that, okay, this is the outcome that we all expect. So I think that was my skill. So like project management and construction was the same thing. I had to coordinate between 3 different kind of contractors, whether they were a electrical contractor or whether they're doing plaster ceiling or the other one's coming to do plumbing, because everyone's going to be in a confined space and start arguing with each other. Like, oh, you're not done yet, I'm here. Or why is this person still here? Or how come you said you'll come tomorrow yesterday, but you never came, So I think that my job is to be that coordinator in between, and I manage time and I give them a deadline and they have to stick to the deadline. So that's when you need to put your foot down and say 5 is 5. There's no 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. If it's 6 or 7 p.m. means you're going to stay here until 6, 7 p.m. on your own. And tomorrow morning, everything has to be cleared. So yeah. So it was fun. I think it's fun. So it's a different kind of sport. Yeah, I'll say it's not
Okay.
micromanaging though.
Very interesting industry, very interesting take on the industry from the insider point of view. So we've talked a lot about yourself, the business, also touched a little bit about your family. And now we've come to almost the top of the hour where I'm going to ask you, what's the one key takeaway that you want our listeners to remember? Because we've talked about so many things and so many good insights that you brought up about business, about life, about even making decisions. Like how do you make decisions in your life? Don't just go by gut feel, right?
No.
So, yeah. So, what's that one key takeaway that you want people who are listening to our episode today to think a little bit more, whether it is through your examples or through what you've learned?
I think that, like I said, it's YOLO. You only live once. Let's see it from a business perspective, an entrepreneur, or as a person, I would say more a person. In life, you will always make mistakes. It's just that you need to move away from those mistakes and carry on. Like you said, move forward. Everything is about progress. We make mistakes. We fail in business. Doesn't mean that we always fail in business. You need to, but the most important thing, you need to learn from those mistakes and improve and figure out how you can be better the next round. Or how would you change? If you could change things, how would it be different? I realized that a lot of people live with a lot of regrets. Mental health has become a number one issue now in the world, especially with, I think, our generation even. Because our generation is not the hard life generation. Most of our parents already made it in our generation. Our parents back then were all from the village, poor, had to study, earn a scholarship. But we were given education, we were provided. So a lot of us are not afraid of failure. And they cannot accept failure. And the worst thing is when they have failure, they don't know how to get up. They don't know what to do with failure. So as a mother, the first thing I asked last time was, someone asked me before, did my son get sick because of what I did in my past when I was pregnant or, when I was younger to my body? And I don't know. I really don't know. But the only thing I know is at this point moving forward, I need to take care of him, make sure that he's healthy. In business, it's the same thing. I've made businesses where we've lost so much money, but we joke about it still. And we laugh about it and say that, look, one of those so high moments, right? You made this decision, don't know whether we were drunk or young or naive, but never drunk lah. But it was more, we were still very immature back then. It was painful lessons. Some of it we lost a lot of money that we had to work. We had to pick up so much jobs to cover up. We had days where we had no income back then. That when I came back, when we just started our events company, we were not paid because clients, some of the payment, comes in after 3 months, some 6 months, some a year, schedule. And then we did not handle accounts because we were managing on ground. We overlook our accounts. And then we had so much tax to pay, or we had so much penalty because we were late payment. And so we always reflect every year, like, what can we do better this year? If we can change last year, what will we do now? So last year was a perfect opportunity for us to reflect on our accounts, to look into how could we handle paperwork better? How would the instruction be clearer between us and the finance team? And then on our team on ground, it was a lot of education and training, where I want to be in the next 5-10 years. So I think just goals, you have to keep setting goals and keep looking. You look back to analyze what happened. To look at, okay, this is what I was. I was young, I was reckless, but how can I be better next year? So baby steps, I always tell people, don't look too far. Don't look at 20, 30 years down the road and be a millionaire. Start by having a car first, start paying for your loan, start being daring enough to commit to something. But I believe the commitment is also one reason why I am what I am. Because I always tell people, I don't have a choice. Can I not work? I don't think so. Can I not work so hard? I also don't think so. I've got 3 kids. Can I afford to cry and get frustrated and get upset. I cannot. By the time I finish work, I have to see my kids. I have to smile, to pretend that everything is okay. The world is so nice and beautiful outside. I think it's circumstances change people, but you can control those circumstances, and you tell yourself what is your priority. You're gonna cry, you cry. You drink, get drunk, sleep over it, wake up, regret about your hangover, but continue your life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's wonderful advice, because coming from someone who is running multiple businesses, coming from someone who has not just run business, but also overcome some of life's toughest challenges, right? Having death, having a sick family member, and undergoing all those. I would say those are real major stresses in life, because you have no control over those things, right? I mean, at least business you can still control. You can still decide if you want to do it or not. But if someone is sick, you can't eat their medicine for them. You can't take their therapy for them or do their therapy for them, right? Or on their behalf. So So wonderful advice. So final question, where can people find you online if they want to connect with you?
Facebook, or I have my colleague just got me LinkedIn. I'm supposed to be more active in it. I'm to be more active in it. But I'm on Facebook. My full name is there. Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. You can drop me a message if you want to chat. And I am on LinkedIn as well. I'm not as responsive though, but I will try. I'm gonna put that as my 2021 year-end must goal. Yes. Emails and LinkedIn, I'm not very active in emails and LinkedIn. WhatsApp and Facebook. I'm more social. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Fiona. Such a wonderful conversation we had today. I am super excited. I can't wait for this to be published, because then other people will get to hear the wonderful things, the wonderful lessons, I would say. Wonderful lessons and things that you've learned in your own business that we can apply in all our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. What do you like best about today's episode with Fiona? What insights did you glean? Share this with me when you head over to my website for all the show notes at womenpreneurs.asia.com. If you're sharing this on your social media, please use the hashtag WomenpreneurAsia. In next week's episode, I'll be speaking to Tanya Rolfe and Christine Yu, co-founders of Sophia. Sophia is a newly launched learning platform made for women with the goal to increase diversity and inclusion in early-stage investing. As a company, its aim is to catalyze and empower a generation of female investors through its online learning platform. Tanya is based in Singapore, while Christine is in Hong Kong. Thanks to technology, I was able to speak to these two women who felt strongly about women, money, and investing, and they decided to do something about what they saw was a gap in the investing world. Christine's career has spanned tech startups, electronic trading, capital markets, and banking. She is now an impact investor, angel investor, and venture builder in the sustainability and social impact arena. Tanya is a venture capitalist whose previous engagements included starting her own seed venture fund in Singapore, investing in female-founded, scalable businesses across Southeast Asia. She is now an advisor for 2 tech startups, as well as, of course, the co-founder of Sophia. We'll get into that conversation next week.